I'm gonna kill these chickens. Listen, a couple years ago, we had the idea that we were going to, start producing more of our own food on our own property. And the quickest way to do that seemed to be, as far as calorie-wise, is chickens. You could also argue like gardening could work as well. The problem with gardening is it takes a lot of work. It's hard to keep a garden that's producing stuff all the time going, because stuff comes and goes as far as the seasons. And that's a lot of work, a lot of weeds got to get pulled. A lot of stuff has to get harvested. If it's something that's like over harvested, maybe like tomatoes, you have to, all right, turn off my Wi-Fi, that should work. It's trying to connect. You have to have somebody that's willing to can this stuff. Canning is like a process of chopping it all up, putting it in a jar with certain types of liquids, and then closing that can, boiling it in a canner, and then taking it out. It's a process, right? It's like someone's got to tend to that. Luckily, our mother-in-law does a lot of that. Anyway, so chickens, right? Each egg is 70 calories. If you have, let's say, 15 chickens, you're getting 1,000 calories a day. Possibly split between the family. Obviously, you're not just going to live on eggs, but it's just a dense source that can be raised every single day. And so, you see over here, first step was getting something to put these guys in, which is that cage. And my wife and I decided that we found this dude online. He's like, this is a rolling cage. You can put them in here and just easily move them around. And you think, you look at that, it doesn't look like a whole lot. I think it's 4 feet by 4 feet as far as like space goes. But when you boil down, like buying each board, $100 and something worth of boards, $100 worth of the little mesh around the outside. Those wheels, I think, were like $45 a piece. By the end of it, I think we spent about $600 building that cage from scratch ourselves. Spent hours doing it. So if you're also like tacking on the fact that you make XYZ an hour, it's a high cost. Like let's say you're pushing over $1,000 just on an upfront investment. The catch is you don't really have to do that. If you go on Marketplace, you could find a cage for next to nothing that you could probably use for years and resell for the exact same amount, which is like pro tip from this whole like smart flippers thing. Is like, don't pay for anything, get things for free by buying them for the right price and then selling them back whenever you're done using them. And so, anyway, we had to do it. We just had to do it ourselves. And so, I do appreciate the art of like actually making something from scratch, and it does the mind and body some good that can't be quantified in dollars to actually put your hands on stuff and get it done, even though you could be doing something technically more valuable with your time. What's up, Orlando? And so then there's other like small purchases that go into it, like this owl. We had to get this owl. Hold on, where's that at? Yeah, right there. And he just makes obnoxious noises that keeps the hawks away. So one of your big threats to this whole thing is owls will come in and knock out your herd, and those come and swoop up your chickens, owls, and hawks. These little waterers right here, I just bought that 3.5 gallon because these fools were going through these 5 quarts real fast. And then I bought this about a year ago. I bought this bucket. Let's see if y'all can see this. Yeah. And what I did with that bucket is basically a 5-gallon feeder. I took an elbow of plumbing pipe, cut that thing in half, cut some holes in that thing, glued them in there. Anyway, you can look up easy plans online. And that way I can put 5 gallons worth of food in there, which lasts a week or two, depending on how many chickens we have at the time. So none of that in itself is expensive, but you look at all those waters in those buckets, let's say that's another $100. Another massive cost, which you might not see as necessary, but my parents still buy us Christmas gifts. So I was like, cool, buy us this netting, right? You see this white netting, and then over there, am I pointing right? I'm like a meteorologist, right? There's a battery, a solar battery that gets charged by the sun, and it has like a steady, low-key shock that it sends through it, and it basically wards off animals we don't want, and it keeps the chickens inside for the most part. Unless we don't feed them enough, then they start flying out and they start going around looking for food. Some of the negatives of them, they're nasty as hell. Like, they crap everywhere. See if y'all can see this. There's like, they start digging holes all over the yard. And the idea is that you like move them around and give them new areas. But we have a pretty good bit of space out here. And it is almost impossible to get an area where, like, okay, they leave that area, we fill that up with dirt. And then by the time we put them back in that area, ideally that area is like grown over. But no, I'm finding that it's like hard to switch them that much. To where that I put them back in an area they've already been in, and they're like, cool, here's a soft spot, and they just like dig that sucker right back out, and they hop all in there and bathe in the dirt and all this stuff. So I got to refill that thing back up with dirt. And so over time, they beat up your yard. So if you don't have a very big yard, they will beat your yard up bad because they're always scratching. They're always trying to dig little holes to like sit in. And so they smell. They dig holes. They die easy. You'll wake up, one's dead. For me, it feels worse than when a dog dies because these kids are actually like crapping out breakfast for us, right? And so I hate when they die, but they die so easy. If you had one job and it was keep a freaking chicken alive, man, you better be sweating it because them damn things die, and they die in a hurry. You know, there's all kinds of different little things that you find out once you have them. If you see one with like a bunch of doo-doo on their feathers in the back and it looks all pasty, you could have a problem. And next thing you know, boom, that thing's dead. Or a flock of birds, predator birds come through, and next thing you know, they're up in there chasing your chickens around and snatching them fools up and eating them. The whole world loves chicken, by the way. Nature loves chicken. People love chicken. Everyone loves chicken. So chickens are a huge a huge snack for the entire world, and nature's no different. And so that part can be hard because you got to raise these fools for 6 months before they start crapping out breakfast. It's crazy for no reason. They're just pet birds for 6 months. So if you lose one, it can be very disheartening. And I've seen several people raise up a flock, lose a flock, and then say, screw this, I'm not doing this anymore. This sucks. I spent all this time and money. I spent all this time and effort. I ain't doing it again. And I can see why they would do that, because it sucks. So upfront costs can be, as high as $1,000. It can be much, much lower if you're on a budget. Buying chickens themselves is super cheap. The food isn't so bad. I did the math, and it's about, if you're actually feeding them food and you're not just letting them run all over the yard, the risk of letting them run all over the yard is predators, obviously. But if you're buying some food and you're supplementing that with like compost, stuff that you don't eat, it's probably 5 or 6 to 1. 5x to 6x what you spend on food. So if you spend $100 on food, you got $600 in equivalent cost savings of eggs. And because a whole big bag, if you're doing organic, is only like $22, and that'll last a couple of weeks. And then we'll get usually per chicken, you divide that by 75. You multiply that by 75%. So if you got 10 chickens, you're getting 7-8 eggs a day essentially. And last thing is, one of the cool things is you can see like some of these scraps that we have on the ground. I'm gonna have to rake some of this up. When you waste food now, you no longer really waste food. They love fruit. They like greens. They like a lot of the things that we just say, this is too old. They love bananas, blueberries, just all kinds of berries they like. They like seeds. So when your pumpkin season comes around, you can chop all the pumpkins up that you have, take all the seeds out, throw them in there, and they lose their freaking minds. If you have leftover rice, they go crazy. And so you can feed them all these things. It's like you stop feeling bad about waste as much, because you're not wasting. You are feeding your future food essentially back to you through the healthy food that you already eat, which is pretty sweet. All right, guys, I got to get going. We have a call at 10 a.m. on scaling, and I will see you guys on there. Later.